Okay, ladies and gentlemen, not going to lie to you, we're talking about some players you like here. Now, I know you're going to get mad at me and say, Mason Brian Robinson is so damn good. Look at him Thursday night. Yes, I want to root for some of these guys. They look good. But each and every one of these players are going to have a red flag that I think we need to look at, may have a cap ceiling, and honestly, we should use the excitement built around them to try to go through and sell them high. But before we get into the video, make sure you go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. If you have any questions or you just want to tell me that I'm an idiot and I am wrong, feel free to go down there to the comment section. And of course, you know this video is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. When you go and sign up for Underdog Fantasy with the link in the comment section or the link in the description of the video, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. And you'll be able to get in some fun fantasy football drafts with us with promo code FLOCK. One of my favorite lines this week may or may not be the DeAndre Hopkins higher than 69 receiving yards. We've been on fire with those prop picks as of late, but that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into these guys. Starting off with, you know what? I was going to do Brian Robinson, but I don't want you to hate me the entire video. So let's go someone else first. Let's go over to someone that's not going to be that controversial, and I just want to bring him up. You're not going to get a lot for him at all. Latavius Murray. We've had a ton of questions about Latavius Murray as of late in these live streams. Like I said, I'm not an idiot. I know you're not going to be able to go sell Latavius Murray for Keenan out. You're not going to get much at all for Murray. I do want to just make a statement about him because after Thursday night, a lot of people are viewing him as the starting running back in Denver. I think that the Denver Broncos are going to be a team that for the time being, you don't want to start any of their running backs because while Latavius Murray was the starter on Thursday, in reality, Melvin Gordon was dealing with an injury. I think that you may have Melvin Gordon actually as the starting running back going forward, but it doesn't really matter who is the starter. Latavius Murray was the starter this past week, and the man had 27 snaps out of 58. They're getting involved Mike Boone, Latavius Murray, Melvin Gordon. Even the fullback is getting snaps here. So I want to bring up Latavius Murray and say, yeah, you look like the starter with this 15 carries, but it's not going to matter. This is a bad offense. This is a backfield that's split in so many different directions. And Melvin Gordon may be the guy whenever they're all fully healthy. So, if you can get anything for any of these Denver running backs, I know you're not going to get a lot, but just throw them in a package and get a slight upgrade somewhere else. I would be excited about that. Now going over to our next guy, let's go and look at Jacksonville because we have talked about this a lot, so we can be brief with this before we get to guys like Brian Robinson and Rhamondre Stevenson. James Robinson, going to be a sell. We've had him as a sell high pretty much the entire season, it seems. I actually think that the Jacksonville Jaguars offense is going to get better from where they've been over the past 3 weeks. But honestly, I don't really think it matters. With James Robinson, you have a severely capped ceiling and that's similar to someone like Brian Robinson we'll talk to you about a little later on. He's not going to catch passes at all. Even with James Robinson having a pretty large role at the beginning of the season when Travis Etienne wasn't getting involved. Hell, James Robinson still only has 10 carries. He doesn't really look good. What ended up happening is through the first 3 weeks, you had Travis Etienne, who had never played an NFL game before, not really get utilized in this offense, where weeks 1 and 2, Etienne didn't even crack 10 total carries. And on top of this, not only did James Robinson get a lot of work there, but at the same time, Jacksonville was rolling. Remember after week 3, when the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Chargers won 38-10. And people were pumping up the Jags. You had a little hot stretch of games where James Robinson was scoring touchdowns, where Etienne wasn't getting involved. But now Etienne looks better. Etienne has been significantly more efficient so far this season. This is not everything. Of course, Etienne's going up against lighter boxes, so you would assume that Etienne would be a more efficient running back. But 5.6 yards per carry compared to James Robinson at 4.2, 11.2 yards per reception compared to James Robinson at 5.1. I think you continue to see more and more Travis Etienne, less and less James Robinson. And like we said with James Robinson at the beginning part of the year, he did just benefit from having that expanded role with no Etienne. So, for the about 6th week in a row, James Robinson's a sell-high running back. If you're just now finding these videos, maybe we can be the person who convinces you to sell him. But now going over to our next guy, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, someone else that has been on a decent amount of sell-high videos in the past. And people were pissed at me after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game when we were saying for God knows how long to sell CEH. But outside of that one Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has had a whopping 0, and I repeat, 0 games with 10 or more carries. Outside of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, of course. Now, he's getting somewhat involved as a pass catcher. What's really saved Clyde Edwards-Helaire so far this season is the touchdowns. I mean, he's had 5 touchdowns. You're playing for Kansas City. Of course, if you're in this Kansas City Chiefs offense, you will have touchdown upside. That's why on Underdog, where y'all saw us draft over 700 teams this offseason, we went through and we took Clyde Edwards-Helaire in almost every single draft in the 8th round, because I was saying, well, in a best ball format, if you're going to have an every down role or close to it for the Kansas City Chiefs and have touchdown upside, I'll take you at an 8th round price point. But from a redraft perspective, it's going to be so hard to figure out exactly when you want to be starting CEH. This past week, Clyde Edwards-Helaire played less than 50% of the snaps for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, we've seen that a lot. That's why I've been saying to go through and look to move him. Like, Jarrett McKinnon is running too many routes. Jarrett McKinnon is just playing too much in general for Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be someone that you can confidently jam in as a high-end running back 2 every week. But now going over to our next guy, someone else that is in a very good offense, arguably the best offense in the NFL, Devin Singletary. Now, with Devin Singletary, the usage has been great. I mean, if you could tell me that you would get a running back top 5 in the NFL in snaps played at a running back 3 price tag, I would sign up for that any day of the week. I mean, I tweeted this out yesterday, but top 5 running backs in snaps so far this season. You have Saquon Barkley at 1, Leonard Fournette at 2, Joe Mixon 3, Devin Singletary at 4, before Christian McCaffrey. Like, Devin Singletary's had a role that is way larger than I expected it to be coming into this season. I thought that they would have gotten James Cook involved more by now, but James Cook hasn't been involved at all. And with Devin Singletary having the dream role everybody would want from him, with him having the top 5 snaps played at the running back position so far this season, in an offense that has scored a ton of points, what has he done exactly? Has Devin Singletary been good? Has Devin Singletary been a productive player? No. Because it does not matter if the Buffalo Bills are an offense that, I mean, scores more points than anybody else. Because when they get to the red zone, do they ever look to hand the ball off to Devin Singletary? Do they ever look to hand the ball off at all? No, and you can't blame them. They have Josh Allen, who's probably the best rusher on this team. You can drop back Josh Allen. You can go through those progressions. You can look for Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. If they're not there, hell, Josh Allen can tuck in and run and maybe do a better job than Devin Singletary. So even with Singletary being top 5 in the NFL so far in snaps, the man's had 1 touchdown on the season. And honestly, I think that there's no way he finishes the season as a top 5 running back in snaps. I think that dramatically comes down as they begin to look to get James Cook more involved after the bye week. So if Devin Singletary's had the dream role, and the dream role has produced very few fantasy points, I don't think it's getting better anytime soon. I think you cash out while you can. But now let's go over to our next guy, Raheem Mostert. I mean, Mostert looked phenomenal. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago against the Jets, where Skylar Thompson was the starting quarterback, where they lost 40-17. He played damn near every single snap. Chase Edmonds got benched. Mostert had over 100 rushing yards. The man had 3 targets as well. Like, I'm very surprised to see Raheem Mostert with 14 targets so far this season. However, it looks like Chase Edmonds getting benched was not going to be something we can assume happens the rest of the season. Edmonds, the week after getting benched, now comes back through, plays 31 snaps. Raheem Mostert goes from leading the backfield handedly and being that locked-in starter to now only playing 50% of the snaps in Miami. The man's a 30-year-old running back that, yes, used to be hyper-athletic, but at this point of his career, I mean, he's not an efficient pass catcher. He has 64 receiving yards off of 14 targets, piss poor yards per target. The same time, I mean, if we are looking at the longest run, I mean, he's not breaking off long runs. If you're getting Edmonds more involved, where Edmonds is going to be a better pass catcher, where they're no longer benching him, I would look to see what we could get for Raheem Mostert. Now, going over to our next guy, we are going to have Jeff Wilson. with Jeff Wilson. We've said it pretty much every day over the past month. I'll be very brief. I know you're tired of hearing me to tell you to sell him. I mean, if you haven't done it by now, probably going to be very difficult for you to do so. But they're continuing to get Tevin Coleman involved. What is hilarious is you have Elijah Mitchell obviously injured. At the same time, I mean, Tyrion Davis-Price is a non-factor. Tyrion Davis-Price played one snap. So you would assume Jeff Wilson's going to smash. Jeff Wilson sees fewer snaps than Kyle Juszczyk. Kyle Juszczyk plays more snaps than Jeff Wilson this week. Jeff Wilson plays about 50% of the snaps in this backfield. Tevin Coleman's getting involved. They're involving Tevin Coleman and Kyle Juszczyk over Jeff Wilson. What this tells me is, hell, we should probably go through and bet on Elijah Mitchell. When Elijah Mitchell comes back in a few weeks, Jeff Wilson will go from being a high-end running back 3 to someone that is not even worth a roster spot. I mean, I hope you sold him a month ago, but just in case you still have him, I mean, I would sell him at even a lower price tag than what we're looking at. But now let's get to the guys that have a lot of hype built around them that people want to root for. And let's go over to Rhamondre Stevenson. Now, I already hear you in the comments section, the same people that this offseason last year, that for years now have been telling me, Mason, stop hating on Damien Harris, yada, yada, yada. Mason, Damien Harris is great. When we've been that Damien Harris hit, they're now going to tell me, Mason, Damien Harris is never going to have a role. I mean, Damien Harris is completely removed from this offense. It's all Rhamondre. Guys, I mean, I'm not changing my stance on these running backs at all. I think Rhamondre and Damien Harris are very comparable as rushers. I think you would prefer Rhamondre Stevenson because he has the passing down skill set that you look for, just like we've said over the past 2 seasons. However, let's not get confused here. While yes, Rhamondre Stevenson is a top 10 running back any given week, Damien Harris is out. And while initially it sounded like this Damien Harris injury was going to be severe and he was going to miss a long stretch of games, well, he was practicing last week. Damien Harris practiced on Thursday and Friday last week. I think he probably misses this week. I don't know. There's a chance he comes back. But you're telling me that we're maybe getting one more week of top 10 running back production from Rhamondre Stevenson, and then Damien Harris will come back in, and Rhamondre will go from seeing, 60 snaps in this backfield, seeing pretty much every single down play, to going back and being a running back getting 50 to 60% of the snaps. Please, do not think that Damien Harris is now a complete non-factor. That Damien Harris is someone that you should not be thinking about at all. If there is someone in your league that thinks Rhamondre Stevenson, while he is a top 10 running back with no Damien Harris, but if someone thinks that he's a top 10 running back rest of season, he's a top 12 running back rest of season, I would love to see what we could get. Now, our last guy on this list, Brian Robinson. I wanted to save him for the end. That way, hopefully you didn't just hate me as you watch this entire video here. With Brian Robinson, I want to root for him. You want to root for him. Everybody that watches this video is rooting for Brian Robinson. On top of this, remember, we had Antonio Gibson on pretty much every single sell high video earlier this season. I hope you listened to me back then, but hell, I'll still be selling Brian Robinson. The reason we were selling Antonio Gibson at the beginning of the season, word for word, what we said is, this is a piss poor offense that when Brian Robinson comes back will be a 3-man running back by committee, where I'm not going to be excited about starting any player. Well, what's my stance with Brian Robinson? This is a piss poor offense that is a 3-man running back by committee where I'm not excited to start any player. Earlier in the year, you used to be able to sell Antonio Gibson because he was the de facto starter here and used to be able to get some value. Now that guy that we can sell is Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson had 17 carries, 60 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown a week ago against the Bears. The only reason that Washington was able to move the ball down the field to get that rushing touchdown for him was off a muff punt. Like, are you freaking kidding me? I don't think we need a botched punt to be the #1 offensive game plan for Washington to be able to go through and put points up on the board. You have Brian Robinson only seeing 27 snaps out of the 57 potential. He had a total of 0 targets. The man has had a total of 0 targets in both games played. Ron Rivera's coming out saying Antonio Gibson's going to be more involved going forward. I want to root for Brian Robinson. You want to root for Brian Robinson. It doesn't matter, though. If you have Gibson, McKissick, Robinson, all splitting snaps, and this is an offense that there's not much production to go around in the first place, nobody can be consistently productive. Nobody has a very high ceiling. So I want to root for him, but you got to sell him. I'm in the business of scoring fantasy football points, not building a team of guys we want to root for. And now that's all I got. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. Go to the comment section, scream at me for why I'm so wrong on Rhamondre Stevenson, why I'm wrong on Brian Robinson. And if you want to check out any of these cool player props, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Link in the description, link in the comment section. When you sign up with promo code FLOCK, they'll match that first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. Go look at that Hopkins higher than mark, just potentially, and also available in damn near every state. But thank you again. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great day and hope we get to see you out in the live stream tonight.